Welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, telling the stories of Canadian affiliate owners and coaches and sharing the wealth of knowledge that exists in our vast knowledge. As we continue to get introduced to our seminar staff and affiliate owners, I'm excited for today's conversation with who I'm going to call my proud neighbor, the newest seminar staff member, but also proud neighbor to the north. Might be direct neighbor to the north, DK from CrossFit Muskoka. DK, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And so what we start, just like if a new person drops into the affiliate, so you're gonna so question of the day, name, introduce yourself, and what was your first car? We'll go with that.
Oh, wow. Okay. My name is DK. The DK stands for David Kenneth Bernard Kearsey. It's quite a mouthful. What was the second? So my name, my affiliate, I'm
Yes.
CrossFit Muskoka, which is the Hamptons of Canada, I always tell people. And my first car wasn't that long ago. I didn't start driving till very late, and it was a Jeep Wrangler.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. My first car was a 93 Geostorm. It was a classic 16-year-old car. Parents saw it on the side of the road with a cardboard sign that said $500, and that's what I drove.
What a steal.
Drove into the ground. So for those listening, for the tens of people listening to this, they may notice a distinct accent. Now, is that a Red Deer accent we're hearing?
Oh, very. I'm working on my Canadian A's, but my accent is originally British, and then I managed to try and mess it up by traveling the world. So it has twinges of other nations in there.
So you're born in England, born there. I don't want to assume.
Yeah, we're born there.
Yeah. So I always like to kind of start. How did you get into CrossFit? And then, so whether that ties into where you were born or not will be up for debate, but just give me let's start at the beginning.
Okay. So my first touches of CrossFit happened before I got into it. So I was lucky enough to play rugby, and I played it in different countries, and CrossFit hit its peak at the same time I got into being fitter. And I started by checking out main site and dropping it at CrossFit. I'm trying to remember the name now. I want to say CrossFit Lower Hutt in New Zealand. And I tried a few workouts, but it wasn't really my thing. I found myself getting slimmer, and at rugby, I had to be bigger. So it didn't quite sit with the job I was doing. And I fell in love with CrossFit football. John Wellborn back in the day, if anyone remembers those workouts.
Towel pull up.
Which was basically like CrossFit for people who, the gateway drug. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I touched on this a little bit, but it wasn't until I was set to retire, and I wanted to try CrossFit and go back into it again. And I said to my wife, there's a CrossFit gym around the road. We're going to go, but don't let me become one of those CrossFit nerds. And I may have used a different word instead of nerds, but I was like, don't let me be that guy that's just constantly talking about the WOD or constantly talking about what they're achieving in the gym. And she's like, okay, we'll keep an eye on each other. And for those who are new to my lovely wife, she's an amazing coach herself. She's a level 3. But previously she was a very famous yoga instructor and knows her Pilates as well. She's stock qualified. And we went to it together, and it was toes to bar and deadlift. And I love the deadlift, and I was awful at the toes to bar. And she murdered me on the toes to bar, having that Pilates background, and really struggled with the deadlift. And we finished like the same time in the workout, turned to each other and was like, this is the only thing we can do together where we can work out next to each other. And just kept coming back. And France has an interesting approach, because we were in the south of France at the time. And the first time she got a pull up, they were like, great, you're going to do them in the workout, which is a little crazy. But from then it was a whirlwind journey.
Very cool. And so what was the time frame roughly around this kind of window?
Okay. So when I started doing it with my wife, that would have been like 2016, I want to say.
Okay,
But touching it back in the day would have been like 2006, 2007. Yeah.
gotcha. So vacationing in the south of France, is and doing pull-ups and toes to bar and whatnot. How did you then get to this side of the ocean? Because you didn't just come right from Europe to CrossFit Muskoka. There was a little transitionary time that got you to there. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a reason why there's successful Canadian women in CrossFit is that the Canadian women are tough and they're awesome. And I was actually playing rugby in France when we were there. And as I retired, the plan was to come back to Toronto. And so we moved back with my Canadian wife to Toronto and we started working at CrossFit gyms. And I worked for anyone that would give me a chance. I worked at all the affiliates. I was working at like 3 different gyms in one day, doing the 5 a.m. class at one gym, doing the close at a different one. And we wanted to open in Toronto and just struggled with real estate. And then something in Canada came up. We planned to open up, something in Muskoka came up. We decided to open up there.
And then, of course, that was completely smooth sailing because the time back to that time frame. What year was that?
Yeah, I opened up in the middle of a pandemic, just constantly telling ourselves that, oh, it'll only be a couple of months, we'll be fine. And it was great because it allowed us to really be slow in our progression. I know many new affiliate owners are so excited that they just get ahead of themselves, but we were able to really go through piece by piece everything we wanted to do before we even had anyone in the door. That being said, it's a very expensive way of opening an affiliate.
No kidding. Very much
Mm.
like almost like an interval workout where you get high intensity rest.
Yeah,
It was like, okay, we get to open. Okay, we got to close, reassess, regroup, open again.
yeah. I went fully crazy and started making Atlas stones. So the gym currently has 30 odd Atlas stones because I bought all this equipment, put it in Muskoka, and we were stuck in Toronto. So my wife was like, "You're not buying any more barbells for Toronto. We have plenty in Muskoka." So we made Atlas stones. And I got way too deep into how to make concrete. It was very exciting.
I think most stuck with sourdough loaves, but
Yeah.
Atlas stones is a nice way to segue in there too.
Yeah, everybody had their thing. Did you do sourdough? Was that yours?
No, I didn't do anything productive with my time, but you said it specifically. Everybody had their thing. So for me specifically during the pandemic, because what did everyone do during the pandemic, right? Is they all lived in sweatpants.
Yeah.
So I took the complete opposite approach. We generally at CrossFit gyms they either wear shorts or some sort of athletic pants. So I just started wearing jeans every day to the gym, and it became just my thing and I would do our weekly update videos or our WOD brief videos all in jeans, and nobody everyone was asking like, are you working out in jeans?
And it shows us we need people because I think everybody went a little crazy for sure.
That's right. You
Yeah.
needed something to distract your time, and
Yeah.
not that this was a distraction, but speaking of your journey, set the big scene and then kind of piece it piece by piece. Then what happened most recently? What's the next addition to that you've now added to your plate?
Like everything at once. So, um, my affiliate is growing. The people in there, CrossFitters, I love them. They have an ethos of working hard, but more particularly, we've developed a really good set of coaches. I mean, CrossFit Aurelia might have the most amount of level threes, if
If
that's correct.
we're close, if not the most, yeah.
And we're coming for you. We have
Okay.
2 more taking the exam this year. We're trying to grow our staff. It's a big thing, but the coaches are exceptional. And so now my job is coaching development. And that seems to have coincided very well with getting hired on staff, which is obviously all about spreading the ethos and the message of CrossFit to people. So it ties in really nicely. And that was all too easy. So we decided to also have another child. Um, we went through IVF for the second time, and my wife gave birth in November for baby number 2.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and actually, funny enough, as we record this, it's February 19th. She was a very pregnant person working out at the affiliate summit in October. It was Thanksgiving weekend. Got to give her a sweaty pregnant hug.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
tough Canadian woman, right?
Oh, yeah. And just for anyone who is married or dating to a CrossFit coach, they make exceptional parents. My wife is A-type. She's organized. My son is doing swimming this morning and hockey tomorrow, and she's taking him through art right now. He's certainly getting a crash course on development for sure.
So, I think as we lay the road out, it's like, hey, came in, started coaching at various CrossFit gyms, then opened an affiliate, and then boom, got on seminar staff. If we were to just lay it out in front like that, someone might say, oh, that sounds like it was really easy, a simple path. Is
Yeah.
that true, or is that not the case?
Uh, I don't think it was easy because the things that I'm talking about are things that mean a lot to me. So
then, sorry, let me cut you off then. It wasn't without its obstacles.
yeah, that's probably a good way of putting it.
Yeah,
I'd never want to say that anything was hard or dishearten people, but like I think if you really care about things, and obviously my family, my affiliate, and the world of CrossFit are things that I care about deeply, and so they mean something. And I think that makes everything more challenging because every setback or every hill you have to climb becomes just a little bit higher. Yeah, and overnight is probably a very, very generous explanation of that journey.
Well, and that's where, we were talking offline before we hit record, but that saying of overnight success takes a lifetime. And so clearly you've been guided by a vehement passion for, I want to say for CrossFit, but you're just the type of guy that's, when you're passionate about something, that passion motivates you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think I'm obsessive for
Okay.
sure, but I also I think I'm a romantic in that I can find the most like deep meaning for something that for other people would be like, oh, you're just working out. And for me, I'm like, no, this is a gateway to a philosophy of how to see the world that you can be better at stuff. You can teach yourself things, you can evolve, you can it may be something teaching yourself like a double under, but that then switches to like teaching yourself how to be a good parent or teaching yourself how to be a good partner or I don't know, fix your car. Like I try and see the deeper messages in things. And the eye rolls that I have from my friends and family are hard on some occasions, but it's also what allows me to keep moving forward. Uh, I think I have a suspicion that to work for CrossFit, you have to be told you're not good enough by 5 to 10 red shirts. I think they do their best to discourage you because if you want it bad enough, that won't deter you. And luckily for me, every no came with a, but if you work on this, there's a chance. And that's all I needed.
And I feel like there's a metaphor or analogy of just entrepreneurship or business ownership and the struggles that come along with it in there that we don't have to unpack yet, maybe circle back to. So let's stay with that. So like working backwards from this point right now in February of 2025 on this recording, you had passed your level 4, being one of the, few handful of Canadian coaches most recently to have done so. So congrats on that. But your seminar staff journey began much before that.
Yeah. So first off, I should mention I failed my first level 4, which again, it's just part of the journey of a lot of goes into that setback to then get you the second one. But my affiliate journey started. I mean, I think every stage of the journey, I thought I was ready, and then looking back, I was like, I was nowhere near ready. But I managed to get I was very lucky enough to have an internship originally when it was the internship, and I worked with Austin Mariolo and I'm trying to remember who else was on that course, but we did. I first did a first ever internship with Jason McDonald, and the whole point of that was just make sure you're a okay person. They hang out with you for the weekend. You do very little. You move chairs. You pick up PVCs. Your job is like, can we tolerate you? Are you a good person at heart? Are you a good guy or girl? And I think, like, because if that's not the case, you're not even getting a look in. And then from there, I was lucky enough to get my second internship and working with Austin. And Austin has this amazing ability to just look you straight in the face and tell you. He told me once that he told me that I give off boyfriend at girlfriend's dad's house vibes. And I spent about 6 months obsessing over that. It was wonderful. He just he picked and worked with me, and he basically told me, hey, you're not there yet, bud. Go away, get better at your craft, come back. And I went away and I did coaches development with Denise Thomas, Austin, and James Hobart. And all three of them spent 2 or 3 days telling me this wasn't good enough and that wasn't good enough. And again, like they all gave me, but this is how you make it better.
Right.
And I think that's the big thing is that with each of those, hey, this isn't good enough. But like if you did this, it would be better. And from there, then COVID hit, and I had to sit on my hands until the level 4, and I earned my opportunity a second time.
Well, and even that common thread of being told you're not there yet, but it's an opportunity to get better. Many people would selectively ignore that second part of like, here's an opportunity to get better, or here's how you get better. Both can be tied together or separate. So
when you say most people, Matt, do you think that's a CrossFit thing though? Because when you say to someone, hey, that snatch that you just did, you muscled the turnover. But if you focus on punching yourself under the bar, you will be able to get that one smoother. Do you see what I mean? Like that work on your weaknesses, that setback to goals, that just sounds like an A-type CrossFitter to me. That sounds like every affiliate.
Yes, and so, but to your question, I do think could be a way to derail this whole initiative before this thing ever gets off the ground. But there's also an opportunity to move the goalposts, right? And so so there's a difference between hard work for the sake of hard work versus hard work for a productive pursuit of something more. You see what I mean, right? And and it's, CrossFit went from 16,000 affiliates back down to, I don't know these numbers off by heart. I'm guessing somewhere between 12 to 13,000, because many like the idea of hard work, but it's the same idea of intensity over volume.
Yeah.
Let's have a more productive application of that hard work as opposed to just doing hard work for the sake of hard work.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure which we're talking about now. Affiliate
Right.
ownership. Maybe it all blurs in the same thing. Maybe that's the Romani I'm talking about. All I know is that like I want my credits to be interchangeable. If I'm gonna get better at owning an affiliate, I want that to transfer into being a better husband. And if I'm gonna get better at being a better coach in my red shirt, I want that to be better running my affiliate. And I think when you learn the way to do things correctly, when you learn off people like Denise Thomas, James Hobart, Austin Mariolo is a fantastic coach. He is in a role right now which is slightly different from that. But if you ever get YouTube in front of you in those old videos, he is so great at just getting the message across. And that's why he's transferred into his new role so well. So
Right.
I think the guys that do it well, they do it bleeds into other parts of their life.
Yes. And I think what you're saying without saying it too is, if someone had the ambition and motivation to do well, there is a wealth of information, knowledge, resources in the form of people in front of them to model off of, now more than ever.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about working in that red shirt that doesn't get talked about enough is that you hang out with some real studs. Like just the Canadian stuff alone, I'm sure people listening to this podcast will have heard journeys from all of them. But anytime I hang out with them, not just their big accomplishments, I'm sure you've spoken to some of the things the staff have done, but like day to day, they're all doing something.
Right.
Matthew, my mentor Matthew is every time I talk to him, he has a new thing, a new idea on the go. He's so inspiring, and he's my boss. And here he's just always chasing the next development. And I'd expand that over everyone that wears a red shirt in Canada.
100%, right? And I mean, that's part of your role, is to educate, entertain, and inspire, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think these guys could do it even if it wasn't their role. I think it's who they are. I just when you hang around them, whether it's every, it doesn't even have to be CrossFit related. If you speak to Reza about parenting, he gives me ideas every time I hang out with him. I think he made a treasure hunt for his kid, and he got up first thing in the morning and like hid treasure around his local area, like the day before he left on a trip. And I was like, man, he's next level. That's so cool.
So some might view that, then, to take this conversation a slightly different direction, as intimidating. How did you, working backwards from even the first set point of failing the level 4, how did you overcome that hurdle of intimidation to potentially try it again?
The love of a good woman. Like you fail that level 4, and it just if you care about it, it rips your heart out. It really does. Because I don't think you put the time and effort and work it takes to get to that opportunity without it meaning something. I don't think we're gonna see people be like, oh, I thought about taking the level 4. So I just kind of gave it a go. Like for most people, it's a lifetime work, and it destroys you. And I got back, and my wife was like, "Okay, we'll sign you up for the next one." And I was like, "I don't know, like that's hard, that's painful, like it hurts." Um, and and she's like, "No, no, no, we're going to sign up for the next one." And she just put a date down, made a line in the sand. And that's having a good team, a good partner. Like it doesn't have to be a wife; it could be a friendship group or a brother or a sister. Like just having good people around you. I'm very lucky that the person I spend the most amount of time with is is a CrossFit coach. She's straight down the line. She's very inspiring herself. And I think that's to come back. Like I think that's what keeps you moving forward. If you've got people around you that are just constantly moving those lines. I mean, you and I are good friends, and the amount of times that we're like, oh, we're gonna do one of the hardware project workouts, and you did it indoors, and I'm just saying, did you take the easy option doing it indoors, buddy?
Well, right. And so, I mean, I think, yeah. So the thread here is, and you even said it earlier on in this recording, is the connection with people,
Yeah.
right? And that's what makes a CrossFit class so valuable to an individual, right? I always tell folks, you survey 100 people from 100 different countries, what do they love about CrossFit? 90 or more will tell you the community,
Yeah.
right? And so seeing the journey that you've been on as a coach and an affiliate owner, and then now an opportunity to travel Canada and deliver the level 1 material, do you think affiliate owners could do a better job of connecting with each other?
I don't know if we need to connect with each other, but we need to connect with the community.
Okay.
I think I personally in Toronto, the first gym I started at Toronto was CrossFit Toronto. It's like the 4th affiliate in Canada.
Yeah.
And John Vivian and Machino, his wife, like lovely people. And when I met them, they were tired and exhausted. And I don't know if it's because that's where they'd ended up, but their gym had given birth to all these amazing other gyms around the city. And even when I see the owner of YKV in Toronto, his name's Blair Lyons, he's a lovely guy. He's also very tired. And Dan Visarian, who owns 416 in the city as well. And that man taught me so much. But all these people I'm speaking to, they're working so hard, and they're fixing walls and cleaning toilets and developing front staff. I think sometimes they forget that like what we do is fun.
Right.
And it's exciting and it's cool. And I think sometimes they need to just turn the laptop off and go do a class. And then, you know what? You suddenly feel better about the world. Yeah. Like, have you done a class today, Matt?
Today, no.
No, right? And that's not, I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that like you're probably really busy and you're an affiliate owner yourself. And it's hard to get that class in. And there's always a reason not to when you're running your own business. And I think when we go to those classes and we go in front of those people learning for the first time how to squat properly, I think suddenly we realize why we're doing it, and it makes everything a lot easier.
Well, and exactly. So I'm hearing the essence of time management.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say time management is my skill set, just because I don't think I really ever stop thinking about it. But what I will say is that like maybe perspective on like why you're doing the thing that you're putting so much energy and effort in sometimes realigns us.
well, but you don't have to be good at, like, it's either by necessity or by design, right? In the sense of time management in your day, but also as you just now have a second child, like you have to by necessity find a way
Oh,
to be present for your kids and your
well,
wife.
we have a rule in my house in that physical movement is a right, not a privilege. It's a right. So we don't trade that hour. Like you're going to get an hour to work out, I'm going to get an hour to work out, and then if you need an hour for yourself to do something, we'll organize that later. But like you need to go be a human being to move out some stress, to get to blow off steam, whatever it may be, just to be around other people. I, I feel we should all start taking that a little bit more as a prerequisite for the day. I think that helps a lot.
And then how do you do you take that same approach with, say, having to travel on the weekends?
Well, I'm still at that point when I'm so excited to travel. And there's some people that have been doing it a lot longer than me, and it will become a drag. But as a person who uh, became Canadian but wasn't born here, I'm super excited to see Moncton, and I'm very excited to see Winnipeg, and I want to go to all these places, and I want to discover places, and I've got a lot of Canada to see. So it's a big exciting place for me.
But then, so like I said, back to now time management. How do you manage that with still having a business to run, a wife to keep happy, and two kids to?
Well, you surround yourself with great people. I mentioned my wife and how stellar she is at stepping up and deciding and taking the slack on things. But our coaches do the same thing. I go to my class and they are on me. They're fixing my form, sending my hips back, my elbows up. They're trying to look at my overhead. And so I want to be in class because I move better when they're correcting me. And I'm in a place now where my number one job is helping them on their journey, which is really, really cool and exciting for me. But it's also makes it a really cool place for me to go work out and see them show off. Yeah, and I know like how many the guys in your affiliate. You how many level threes do you have? 5?
We're at 5, including myself. Yes.
Yeah, which is crazy. So even you must be in your classes now, non-coaching, and getting the hearing the feedback, telling them to put your weight in your heels, lift your chest.
Well, and no, in full transparency is because I find ways to say I'm too busy to do it. Right.
Am I
And so,
calling you out on this podcast, Matt? I'm sorry.
no, but I mean, that's honestly like I appreciate it because that is what I envision for those listening, like the future of this podcast to be is to share real things and to say, like, I think you have a very fair observation to say, like, it's like, wow, you got this great coaching staff. You must take classes all the time. I should, and I know things to be true, being when I do take the class, I leave at a different level compared to when doing the workout because I insert reason here,
Okay.
right?
There's
And so it's like I said, whether it's your journey to staff or my team, it's like we can easily just look at something at face value and be like, it must be this.
yeah.
But there's always a secondary layer there. But that secondary layer isn't always true or proper. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look, I love talking about CrossFit as much as the next guy, but doing it beats it every day of the week. And
Right.
doing the thing, doing the going and doing the thing. Like we did Filthy 50 today.
Okay.
That's a great workout. It was written years ago by a guy I've never met, and it's been taught all over the world by people I've never met. It still works. My coach delivered it this morning. It's still got the stimulus. It still hits. Is it my favorite workout in the world? No, but it was great. Got my workout in under an hour, did a warm up, did a cool down, went over the points of performance in those movement categories, moved a little better than I did yesterday, got on with my day. Like at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. And I don't, I think I still keep my eye on that being the big thing because being a red shirt means that I'm going to teach people to give that to other people or maybe experience it better themselves. And then being an affiliate owner, I'm going to show coaches how to give that to other people. And I think these things are just easy to come back to when you do the thing. So go do the thing, Matt.
Well, there's a beautiful simplicity in
For anyone
that.
listening, Matt does work out. I do know this for a fact. Yeah.
Yes, I still, well, and like, so to your point about like, it's a right, not a privilege. Like I just use the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum every day of
Yeah.
like, it's my hedge against sickness. I don't need it now, but I know I'll need it 40 years down the road from now. So every day is moving, once, and that's, so it's about finding the motivators and that's the beauty of the methodology and even affiliate ownership is we can both have two completely different affiliates
Yeah.
and perspectives on them built with the same, every house is built with pretty much the same material,
Yeah.
but how you put it together is beautifully individualized.
And maybe CrossFit has never really done a good job at outlining how effective the affiliate is. Because I think we all know how effective constantly varied high intensity functional movement is. I mean, it's got definitions to it, it's proven, it works. It's not a question of how you feel about it. Do you like CrossFit? Do you not? Like it works, whether you like it to or not. I think when we talk about the affiliate model, having a group of people with a shared goal who bond through hardship and then socially hang out afterwards, I think that pillar in any community is incredibly impactful. And there are people who like, I don't know, we try and bond as adults. It's the hardest, most awkward conversation if you've ever been to a party with someone you don't know and you're just sat there trying to make small talk. It is painful. Yet if we put a kettlebell in front of us both and we do some burpees and we get out of breath, and now we can sit and have a conversation. Like if we struggle with someone to say, well, like that was hard, wasn't it? Yeah, oh yeah, I really hate kettlebell swings, or oh no, my burpees are getting better, or whatever it may be. I think that shared suffering, there's some value to that, and that tribe that I know that like if something bad happens in my life, my phone's going to start ringing because I've got this tribe that I work out with who care about me. I don't know. I think a lot of people's lives would be much better if they had this little community and they had a support system that was just there if they needed it.
And how does that mindset go into like the way you operate your affiliate? And when I say the way you operate it, I mean like drawing in new people.
So I feel the best way to draw someone into the gym is to get their friend really fit.
Okay. Yeah.
I think if the guy you work next to or your partner starts getting fitter and starts being able to go swim better when you go to the beach and looks better with their top off or feels more confident or starts acting different, you start going, what's up? What's different? And I think that is probably the best method, because all the promises of the world, we're going to do this for you, we're going to do this to you. And then you come in and it's this really challenging thing. I think that's often met with, well, you just told me I'm going to be able to get, I don't know, I'm going to be able to get my blood pressure down real easy and it's going to be fun and we're going to do it. And then you make me do these horrible movements. Like, where does that line up? But I think if you turn around to someone and say, oh, you know, that person that you hang out with, they did it. They managed to overcome that first initial barrier. I feel that has a real impactful effect. And I mentioned I got really into it because my wife and I did it together. And there's times I don't want to go to the gym, and she really wanted to go to the gym. So guess where I am? And even to this day, like I have friends and they want to hang out, and the first thing they'll say is, "Okay, we'll do a workout and then we'll hang out." And if I don't want to work out that day, I don't really have a choice if I want to see my friends.
Well, and sorry to cut you off, but what happens, because he's notorious, what happens with your mentor when you work a seminar? What happens at lunchtime there? Are you going to grab lunch?
So for anyone who doesn't know, Matthew, the French M, the daddy of Canada, he won't hang out with you without working out. That's in his nature, and I love that about him, because everybody has one of those friends that like whenever you get to the where are we going to eat? What are we doing on every trip? He's like that with working out, and it's great. I love it. We're going to throw down. We're going to do our thing. He still lives by the rules on that we're going to move well and we're going to scale to accommodate and we're going to have a goal. Like he still does. He's still an amazing coach in level 4, but like if you want to work out, we hang together. And his big goal, and I'm sure you don't mind me selling this, is he wants me to live and breathe what we're teaching.
Right.
And he wants the people that we're teaching it to see that it's not something that we clock in and clock out. And the way he shows me that is by example. I mean, he's currently biking to work and back,
Right.
which in Laval, where he is incredibly cold. Yeah, that man's tough.
Well, and
Yeah.
so when you talk about passion, there's most certainly passion has a shelf life. But what's interesting though is I think for those who are fueled by their passion for CrossFit, if they're the only ones doing everything, then that passion does have a shelf life. But
you think passion has a shelf life?
Well, let me finish this thought and then you carry it on. But what I'm hearing with you is you are vehemently passionate about CrossFit, but you want to share it and push it into your team. I've done a drop-in at your affiliate. You're trying to push that passion onto your team. Matthew is the most passionate person about CrossFit in all of Canada. He's pushing that onto you, and he every weekend, let's go. You hear that, and you just immediately get fired up to run through a brick wall. And he was on the podcast, and he shared what he's doing differently at his new affiliate is not coaching every single class. Right. So I think passion only has a shelf life if you use it as your main fuel to fuel you doing everything. But if you put that fuel towards sharing it as much as you can with other people, then it's like carbohydrates versus fat. You have an endless supply of passion. If passion is energy, you have an endless supply when you share your passion.
I think about it. I agree with what you're saying, but I think about it on a slightly different level.
Okay.
For me, the best place to grow flowers is to start with the soil. And that analogy is to kind of refer to the fact that if you create an environment where people are allowed to be romantic about the things they're doing and really tidy what they're doing and be passionate themselves, it brings the best out of them. I mean, you spoke about Matthew. Like, if you hang around him, you find yourself being passionate. He's not passing on what he's excited about. You're finding your own passion come out. And I think in my affiliate right now, the big thing I'm trying to do is celebrate who our coaches are, because they have ideas better than mine. I want to hear how they think about something or what they're seeing in the movement pattern and what they're creating, because I think if you can do that, you're going to bring the best out of people, and to trickle down, because that's what they're doing every day. They're trying to bring the best out of the person. That person walks into the class, that mum of two who's just had a really hard day, and she comes in, and we're going to teach her to bring the best out of her by moving better. She's going to find herself being able to let go of the stress of the day by having some high intensity. She's going to feel her butt and hamstrings do some of the work, which is going to take away from that nagging pain in her hip. And I think the environment you create brings the best out of people rather than transferring of passion and energy.
So what advice would you give to an owner who says, I love everything you're saying, but with all the other things I'm doing, it's just hard to muster it together for a class?
So my advice would be create somewhere that you want to work out.
Okay.
So create an environment where you want to work out. And if you're the kind of person that when you work out, the music has to be spot on. If that's your jam, then create an environment where we encourage coaches to make crazy cool playlists. But if your thing is, I want a space where the person who's watching me move is really focusing that I'm seeing myself as an athlete and moving better, then create coaches that pull apart movement and make you and hold you accountable, whatever that may be. If you need a space where there's a good warm up because there's some soreness in your body or your brain is somewhere else, then create a space where we value the warm up. And I think when that happens, you're itching to get to class.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when's your first class in the morning?
When's my first class? 6 a.m.
Okay. So most people aren't busy 6 to 7.
Generally, no.
So, but if that class is somewhere that you want to get to, because you know what, my shoulder's been feeling weird, and I know if I get in front of so and so, they're going to fix how my shoulder looks overhead, and they're going to put me in a position that's good for my shoulder, then I'm there. Or if I'm like, oh, this is a horrible workout, if I do this on my own in my lunch break, it's going to be rough. But if I go there in the morning, I know the music's going to be great. I know we're going to get everybody hyped and excited before the start of the workout. Now I want to be in that space. And I think, and I'm not saying that that's anyone's affiliate, but I'm saying if you create that environment where you personally, it's tailored to the things you want because you're excited about it, then you can't help yourself. You're finding an excuse. Oh, I have to go in tomorrow morning. I may as well hit the class because I got to go do that thing because I want to be there. Because because of how it is and where it is. And I'm very lucky enough to have created a space that I want to hang out in, and coaches that I want to be coached by, and the kind of it says above our door, it says no dicks. And like, it just means the people there are good people, and I want to hang out with them and chat to them.
Yeah.
In fact, at the start of this podcast, I got a text from someone who's in the class with me this morning, and she's like, I loved working out with you today, and I barely got to speak to her. We just gave each other a look to be like, this is hard. And she was like, yeah. I was like, we just gave each other a look today. And she was like, yeah, let's say 1,000 words. But
Yeah.
it's a place I want to hang out.
So piggybacking off that, what's advice you would give to coaches to do something similar? And I guess what I mean is, like, inspiration behind the question is, like, it could be very easy to, DK's on staff, he's a level 4. If I'm going to cue and correct him, good. I'm just going to assume, like, I can't give DK a cue. He knows everything. But what's right? So what's some advice you would give to a coach to help facilitate creating that environment, but also, like, through that coach lens?
So I personally believe that you have to be able to hear criticism. I feel that's the environment that CrossFit has, the unspoken word. And we always say, like, CrossFit's for anybody, but not everybody. And one of those huge reasons is you have to be able to hear hard facts. Like, hey, your knees didn't touch your elbows. They touched the back of your arms. So it's not a knees to elbow. And I'm sorry that hurts your feelings, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I think a great way of creating that environment is if you yourself are willing to hear that stuff. So I tell my coaches, I said, I want you to come and rip me apart. I want to hear the criticism, because if you beeline for me straight away to tell me that something I'm doing needs work, then that person next to me becomes a little bit more susceptible for feedback, because they're like, oh, I'm not being picked out because I'm new, because that guy's been doing it for years. So everybody gets picked on here, and then it becomes like almost to a point that if you don't get picked on in class, now you're being singled out. And I think the first couple of times, definitely it's rough. Feedback is hard. And I know, but if we do it correctly, I think good coaching should feel like everyone's been bullied just a little bit. And you should finish and be like, oh my God, coach today was just on me. It was me. They were singling me out. And then you should be next to me being like, no. They were on me today. And everybody gets that attention, because as long as that focus is done with a love of, like, I want you to move better and I want you to experience this thing better, then I think it will come off. I'm not saying go up and be like, your t-shirt sucks. I'm saying you want to stand that idea that I want you to enjoy this thing better. And do you know what feels really good? Like catching your cleans properly. And you know what feels awful? The wall ball that you caught in a terrible position. So like when coaches are going after moving better and they're trying to make your movement better, I just think everybody wins. So the opposite, if I'm in a class, what you'll notice when we work out together is my coaches will go for me first, because I'm fair game. You can come and criticize my t-shirt. Like I want all of the noise. Yeah.
Well, and like, as Carnegie said, the sweetest sound anyone can hear is their own name.
Oh wow, we just upgraded in this podcast. Check you out.
There you go. But to the point, like, I think if like a newer coach is listening to this, and and maybe they feel bad correcting their members, or like they feel like they're calling someone out, is what I'm hearing from you is, no, I'm gonna give you movement feedback because I'm watching you, I see you, and I'm paying attention to you.
Yeah, I think everybody, when we see star athletes move, and we're like, oh, they move so beautifully.
Yeah.
like they were still a baby at one point. They didn't discover this themselves. At some point, somebody has led them in a direction to move that way. And it's allowed them, like with elite athletes, to accomplish great things, but it's also going to allow us to move a little better, to do the things we love a little better, and to make our fitness credits spend. You know, the amount of times I will comment on sports that I have no business talking about. And I'll say, oh, you know, in hockey, when we send our hips back in the power play, and I see the hockey players going, what do you know about hockey? And I don't, but I know what athletic movement is. And so we can see it. It looks good. You ever see Usain Bolt? If you ever see one of his run, I know he's retired now, but when he ran, he used to sprint and win. And that's great to see. But watch him jog around the victory lap. It looks good. He floats. And it's because he moves well. And I think what we forget is you do not have to be an expert to know what looks good and feels good. And I think to deliver that to someone is a real gift. And if you do it with that intention, it always comes off well, you know. And I think, look, we're friends. If my breath stinks, I want you to tell me. So if my overhead position stinks, I want you to tell me too.
It's like if you have food on your face. I didn't want to tell you because you had,
Yeah.
right as we hang out and then you get home and you're like, dude, I had barbecue sauce on my face the whole time. Well, I didn't want to tell you because I felt bad.
Yeah.
But the opposite of that is, okay, so you just let me walk around like an asshole with barbecue sauce on my face. So
And if you
not telling someone that they could be moving better is you're withholding value from them.
Yeah, and as long as it's done with a place of kindness, that's
Right.
why when like it's not going to happen in the on the social media comments. It's
Right.
just not. Like we're not gonna connect because I have to trust what you're doing is from a good place. And the only way we're gonna do that is by being in front of each other. So like I believe in one-on-one coaching. I believe like have someone in front of you to show you. And if you can't get someone in front of you, like get someone you can send a video to that you trust is doing it from a place of like we spoke about, that they care about your experience, they care about you moving better, and they want you to succeed.
So on that note, I think for those who are potentially listening, like, so for you to have gone from failing the level 4 to passing the level 4 and then to get on staff, what's advice you might give someone to bridge that gap? And not some advice, let's say more specifically, what was one of the more helpful things for you aside your lovely and determined wife? For those who don't have a Catherine, what do they what else was helpful for you?
um so before I started my level 4 journey, I spoke to some people that I am inspired by. And I include Matthew on that, but I got to speak with Austin Mariota. I called him up, and he asked me why I was calling him. And I said, because I want help. And he was like, be so good they have to hire you. That's the advice he gave me. And there were a few other people that gave me very similar advice. And that's, if that, I want to use a CrossFit reference here because I hear it all the time. Like, if you're focused on a number that you want on the barbell, not how you lift the barbell, we both know you're not going to get there. And the same can be said with gymnastics. If you're focused on a skill rather than the things needed to complete that skill, it's just not going to happen. And I think the same is for coaching, that being some kind of validation is going to be very short-lived. And there's very few people that care I'm a level 4. My mum says she's proud of me, but she doesn't fully understand what it is. And no amount of explaining is going to get her there. But if I focus on how I coach, then I'll get there. And if I focus on passing that level, once you get to that level 4 stage, if you focus on just continually to refine the process, then you're going to get an opportunity. And what you do with that opportunity is yours. But like, I think the the journey is where the magic is. And I think sometimes we get so excited and we think that first handstand walk is going to just open the clouds and go, whoa. But I think what actually happens is the first time you walk on your hands is that someone goes, well, how far did you walk? And the goalposts move. So I think the best thing to focus on is like, what does it feel like? And does it feel good at the bottom of my squat? Do I feel like my knees are going to explode? Or do I feel like I could to do a lot of stuff there? Can I snatch balance there? Can I back squat, front squat? So I keep into switching CrossFit and coaching, I know, but I think they play hand in hand really well. And I think if every coach that wants to get better goes out tomorrow and they're like, okay, my one goal is to everybody in my next class gets a cue, an actionable cue. And then I don't move on until they've applied it. Maybe I switch my cue to get there. But like if you go do that tomorrow, you'll have a really good class. And then if you collect those classes, you have a really good week, and it keeps snowballing.
Very cool. How can people get a hold of you if they want to come intern at CrossFit Muskoka, or just call you up and ask? So you get to ask them, why are you calling me?
So there's only one CrossFit gym in the whole of Muskoka, so you can just find us. But we're in Port Carling. We have a CrossFit Muskoka Instagram handle. I think that's probably the best place. But if you're driving up from the city, make sure you stop off at Aurelia as well.
Pop in
buy a t-shirt. Yeah.
Don't expect to do a class with me.
I will guarantee every listener that I will work out with Matt before the end of the year.
3, 2, 1, time.
Done. Nice.